back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is all my thoughts and my opinions. This is the case of the Idaho. Koberger has accepted the plea deal. He said that he has unalived all 4 victims, and he accepted the charge, or admitted the charge, to burglary. So there's 5 separate counts in this case. In the beginning of this case, there was a deadline for the victims' families to reserve their rights to sue, I believe, the state, the city of Moscow, and the university because of negligence. I personally believe there was negligence here. There was a lot of noise complaints. The police was aware of it. Why didn't they report the noise complaints to the dean in the university? Why didn't these students get warnings, misdemeanor charges, etc.? You can't avoid a SK, but with modern technology and with people, victims coming forward and complaining, example of a stalker, if that is ignored and is not taken serious, it can end up really ugly, just like DV. When somebody cries out help for the first time or says that they have a stalker, in Kaylee's case allegedly, she should have been taken serious. Because there are symptoms there. Kaylee was studying from home. Her parents never gave us a clear reason to why she was studying from home the last 3.5 weeks of her life. Was it because of the stalker, or was it because of the roommates, or the surviving roommates? Coming back to reserving the rights, I remember clearly it was Karen and the G family, Steve and his family, that reserved the rights. I don't know if the Chapins and Canodal family reserved their rights on time, but I remember these 2 families filed it in towards the end. And I always knew Steve has serious plans of waiting to see how this case ends. He isn't joking with anyone. I believe he's going to be suing everyone, from the university to the maintenance people to the security to Washington University. That's another thing. Many people many students and the parents will be trying to sue, especially anyone who went to Koberger's class. Think about that. Because they literally had a SK, allegedly, according to the police and the prosecutor, they had a SK that was their teacher assistant. Who gave him the job? Why didn't they do a psychologist evaluation? And if they did, that means they're accusing him possibly of something he didn't do. Something is not right here. You can't have a teacher assistant who has serious mental health issues. So I believe all of Koberger's students are going to sue him. Washington University Washington Pullman University, and Idaho Moscow are going to be under the suing radar. You can imagine there will be other victims, friends of the victims, sorority members who could come and say that they're suffering of anxiety and PTSD and everything. People who first saw the crime scene. But I agree, these 4 victims should have been, I understand they're young adults, but they're college students. It's the college's responsibility to keep them safe to begin with.
Also taken measures to protect their right to sue in the event that something comes up. On the right-hand side is Steve Gonzalez and his daughter Kaylee, and they've also protected their right to sue City of Moscow, maybe even other entities as well, in case after the gag order is lifted and they start to find out all the things that happened and maybe shouldn't have happened, they have the right to protect their right to sue. And so they filed that, and it is official. The other 2 families have not yet, but they certainly do have that right. Here to tell us what it is all about, Gigi McKelvey, host of the Pretty Lies and Alibis podcast, and Tony Bruschi, who's the host of the podcast Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. It's great to see both of you. Thank you for being here tonight. Gigi, let me start with you. What's your read on these legal filings?
Well, to be clear, these are not lawsuits. They're kind of a warning that the families might seek damages in the future. And here's what Shannon Gray, who is the attorney to both families who filed this, told ABC News. Filing a tort claims notice is really just a safeguard. It's a safeguard to protect the interests of the families, the victims, and really the whole community around. Because if something goes wrong or was done improperly, then someone is held accountable for that.
And we'll dig into that in a moment, but Tony, jump in here with what you think damages means, because most people hear damages and they think money.
They do, and right now it's not specified exactly what those potential damages could be at this time. In fact, very specific wording in that saying it is undetermined at this point in time.
So they reserve the right to fill in that blank at any time. And they also reserve the right, Tony, as I read it, to sue not just Moscow police, but sort of any entity within the city of Moscow, right?
Very much so, yes. They're keeping that open with this, and that's the whole purpose of a tort claim.
Okay. So, Gigi, they have filed other tort claims as well. What's the action that they're laying out for the future?
Well, Shannon Gray said he's also filed tort claim notices with Washington State University, which is where Brian Kohberger was attending college when the murders happened, the University of Idaho, which we know is where the 4 victims were attending school, as well as the Idaho State Police. So they're covering all their bases in these filings, it seems.
So this is interesting. They're reserving their rights to sue Idaho Moscow Police Department, Idaho Moscow University, Washington Pullman University, where Kohberger was a student of and where he was a teaching assistant of. So this clip was from 2 years ago. So the Congalvis and Morgan family reserved their rights. I don't know about the Canodals and Chapin family because of the gag order. The gag order is supposed to be lifted. It's going to take time, I think months, years, before a lot comes out. And the question is, how much is going to be edited? How much of it are they going to keep hidden from us is the question. Because the way I clearly remember, the judge said we have to go through it. So it's not everything he's going to release in the open. I doubt that. So tomorrow is the hearing. I wonder, I really believe Koberger is going to stick to his plea, obviously, because he already signed that plea. But there's so many terms being breached that I don't know what new updates can come following the gag order. And I wonder if the G family are going to sue everyone. I really believe they're going to sue everyone. I don't blame them. They're upset. And now they've lost to what they wanted. They wanted the DP for Koberger, whether he did it or not. So I don't think they're not going to take it lightly. They're going to sue everyone, I believe.
Go back to that Washington State University piece for a minute, because that's where Brian was going to school. He was studying Washington State University piece for a minute, because that's where Brian was going to school. He was studying, for a PhD in criminology. Is there some thought that maybe the school gave him access to something that he shouldn't have had, and that if it's ever discovered that that is the case, that they have an opportunity to sue for that?
Yeah, well, apparently there's been some rumblings that he may have installed some security systems to watch females. And, is that a situation here that possibly facilitated murder? We'll find out. But I think that could be a situation where that school could be found held liable if there were to be a civil file suit.
So, Tony.
Filed on behalf.
So that is interesting. Koberger had something to do with the security system. And he was
It's ever discovered that that is the case, that they have an opportunity to sue for that?
Yeah, well, apparently there's been some rumblings that he may have installed some security systems to watch females. And, is that a situation here that possibly facilitated murder? We'll find out. But I think that could be a situation where that school could be found held liable if there were to be a civil file suit.
So, Tony.
Filed on behalf.
So there was talk going on about Koberger storing some security cameras in the universities to attend and work for WSU. That is messed up. Because if that is proven, then the G family ain't going to let it go. That is serious. So I think Steve Gongalves, Oliveira, his wife and his children are going to be working on these cases. They're going to sue everyone because they didn't get the DP.
This gag. And we've discovered that the Moscow police have had one of their own, investigated with internal affairs. Do you see any, connection potentially to a tort claim with respect to that?
It's almost like an insurance policy, if you will, because if something was off in the investigation involving an officer, and we don't know the details of that investigation at that time, there certainly could be a kink in the case. So this basically puts that safeguard in place, like I said, an insurance policy almost, if you will, to ensure that the children get justice.
Tony, there hasn't been anything else that's come out about that internal affairs matter. Yes, I mean, everything is just, voraciously consumed when there's one line of information on this story. But I don't feel like I've heard anything else on the police investigation.
No, it's been very silent, and with the gag order in place, we probably won't know much of anything if we ever know anything about that specific investigation.
Excellent question. Whatever happened to the internal affairs investigation? Wasn't there an officer from Idaho, Moscow, involved in this case who had an internal affairs investigation case going on from a previous case? I think it was the doctor case, that unaliving of a doctor and his wife or something. Can barely remember the case. Lana did that case, I remember. So this is all interesting. Koberger he worked in Washington Pullman with storing the security cameras. And he was watching girls, allegedly. I wonder if he ever knew Jasmine Kernodle was Xana's older sister. Was he stalking her too? And I wonder if there were other suspects, other alternative suspects, working allegedly with Koberger, if he did these crimes. There's something really twisted and ugly in this whole case. Basically, what I'm going to end by saying is the two families reserved their rights. Morgan family and G family reserved their rights to sue the hell out of all these places. Apologize for my language. And especially when they find out that Koberger, when the gag order goes off and when we find out exactly what took place, and if Koberger was storing the security system for his benefits, watching women and nasty behaviors, then this is going to turn ugly. I believe the G family are going to be working hard on this gag order. Steve G's been waiting for the gag order to go off. So have we. There's nothing better than transparency. Be transparent. What are you all hiding? Please like, share, subscribe, guys. Have a lovely day.